Hello students, today our topic of discussion is the concept of education and its scope, and the objectives framed for today's discussion to understand the concept of education, to understand the scope of education as a science, to study education as a social process, and to study education as a means of human resource development. Let's have a look at the concept of education. Education is the most important and most noble of human endeavors. All other activities have their foundation in education. Education is so important that it will continue even in eternity. It enables humans to achieve their fullest personal, spiritual, mental, social, and physical potentials. The ability of being educated is what distinguishes humans from animals. Education transforms an individual and allows her to effect change in her environment. It is a continuing voyage of discovery, an everlasting quest to achieve the fullest wisdom and stature that God meant for us. Education, according to George Knight, is a lifelong learning process that can take place in an infinite variety of circumstances and contexts. According to Kleining, education is the range of activities, both formal and informal, whereby people are initiated into or realigned with the evolving traditions, structures, and social relations which are taken to constitute their education. Thus, education should equip an individual to become a rational, willing agent who is able to participate in and change one's world with a realistic understanding of its possibilities. Education may be defined as a purposive, conscious or unconscious psychological, sociological, scientific and philosophical process which brings about the development of the individual to the fullest extent and also the maximum development of society in such a way that both enjoy maximum happiness and prosperity. In short, education is the development of the individual according to his needs and demands of society, of which he is an integral part. Some of the remarks of different educators highlighted the following special features of education. Education is both unilateral as well as bipolar in nature. It is a continuous process. It is knowledge or experience. It is development of particular aspects of human personality or a harmonious integrated growth. It is conducive for the good of the individual or the welfare of the society. It is liberal discipline or a vocational course. It is stabilizer of social order, conservator of culture, and an instrument of change and social reconstruction. Meaning of education. Education, like philosophy, is also closely related to human life. Therefore, being an important life activity, education is also greatly influenced by philosophy. Various fields of philosophy like the political philosophy, social philosophy and economic philosophy have great influence on the various aspects of education like educational procedures, processes, policies, planning and its implementation from both the theoretical and practical aspects. Etymologically, the word education is derived from educare, bringing up, which is related to educere, bring out, bring forth what is within, bring out potential, and educere, to lead. Education, in the largest sense, is any act or experience that has a formative effect on the mind, character, or physical ability of an individual. In its technical sense, education is the process by which society deliberately transmits its accumulated knowledge, skills, and values from one generation to the another. Thus, from these definitions, we might assume that the purpose of education is to develop the knowledge, skill, or character of students. Let's have a look over the various definitions of education. Concept of education as defined by Western philosophers. Socrates. Education means the bringing out of the ideas of universal validity which are latent in the mind of every man. Plato. Education is the capacity to feel pleasure and pain at the right moment. It develops in the body and in the soul of the pupil all the beauty and all the perfection which he is capable of. Aristotle. Education is the creation of a sound mind in a sound body. It develops man's faculty, especially his mind, so that he may be able to enjoy the contemplation of supreme truth, goodness, and beauty, of which perfect happiness essentially consists. Rousseau. Education of man commences at his birth. Before he can speak, before he can understand, he is already instructed. Experience is the forerunner of the perfect. Herbert Spencer. Education is complete living. Hendrik Pestalozzi. Education is natural, harmonious, and progressive development of man's innate powers. Frederick William Froebel. Education is unfoldment of what is already enfolded in the germ. It is the process through which the child makes internal external. The concept of education as given by prominent Indian educationists are as Vivekananda. Education is the manifestation of the divine perfection already existing in man. Gandhi. By education, I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in the child and man's body, mind, and spirit. Tagore. The widest road leading to the solution of all our problems is education. Sri Aurobindo. Education which will offer the tools whereby one can live for the divine, for the country, for oneself, and for others, and this must be the ideal of every school which calls itself national. In the modern times, it has acquired two different shades of meanings, namely an institutional instruction given to students in schools, colleges, formally, and a pedagogical science studied by the students of education. Nature of education. As the meaning of education, so its nature, which is very complex. The nature of education is that education is lifelong process, because every stage of life of an individual is important from education point of view. Education is the systematic process. It refers to transact its activities through a systematic institution and regulation. Education is development of individual and the society. It is called a force for social development, which brings improvement in every aspect in the society. Education is modification of behavior. Human behavior is modified and improved through educational process. Education is a training. Human senses, mind, behavior, activities, skills are trained in a constructive and socially desirable way. Education is instruction and direction. It directs and instructs an individual to fulfill his desires and needs for exaltation of his whole personality. Therefore, the role of education is countless for a perfect society and man. It is necessary for every society and nation to bring holistic happiness and prosperity to its individuals. Now, dear students, we will talk about the scope of education in present scenario. The scope of education can be discussed under the following headings. Number 1, education as a science. Education is a process as well as knowledge. Children learn education by being involved not only with its content but also with its methodology. The effective education facility accommodates both. Science is a systematic and precise body of knowledge in a particular field of the world. It seeks to discover the general laws regulating the phenomena in that field through observation and experiments. As per this definition, education must be taken as a science since it's a systematic body of knowledge accumulated through ages by observation and experiments. It has its own theories and laws for arrangement and organization of educational activities. Education has been developed as a science during these recent years. On the whole, education may be regarded as a science since it consists of theoretical as well as practical knowledge and skills derived through various scientific methods and aims at achieving the desired objectives by applying them in human behavior and practices. Education as a social process. Education is a process by which the older generation hands over their experiences, tradition, customs, thoughts and values to the younger generation. This is a sort of necessary training of the younger generation so as to equip them for the further life and enable them make adjustments with the natural and social environment. They range from primary institutions like family to school, playground, clubs and so on. Education plays a very important role in molding the character of an individual. It is one of the concrete sources from which one gets information and knowledge. It affects the society in the following ways: preservation and transmission of our social, moral and cultural values. In education, through curriculum, students will be acquainted with social, moral and cultural values, and teachers make them familiar with values and ideal through different activities, games, storytelling, etc. Education makes them familiar with constitution, rules and regulations of citizens and so on. Awakening of social feelings. Through education, individuals become aware about the importance of unity, love, fraternity and other values. Education makes all people get awakened of being a part of the society and how they can contribute the world and society. People know different values and life skills and thus they develop concern for society, including social mindedness, values, life skills, learning to be, learning to do, learning to know, learning to live together via different activities, storytelling, dramatization, etc. Political development of society. Education makes all aware about rights and duties of all, which are their responsibilities and duties so that they can develop their civic sense. Through different lessons of political leaders and stories, education develops ideal leadership equality so that in future students can lead the state as a society. Economic development of society. Education develops skills in individual and makes him a productive citizen. Through education, everyone learns how to earn money and as per their qualification he gets job or labor, and on the whole, with the help of education, more or less everyone gets work and earn money, so due to increasing literacy per capita income will increase. Because of education, people migrate in other country and their earning helps to develop society, country as well. Thus, education affects the economic development of society. Social control. Education makes all aware about customs and duties, the same as it makes aware about the rules and regulations as we find the rules in Indian Constitution. People know how to preserve their lives via education. They make also familiar with crimes. Thus, education provides a guideline and it controls all society. Social change and reforms. Education makes individuals perfects and aware about the rights so can claim against developed superstitions, beliefs which are harmful for them. Education makes all aware about how to live peacefully and how to face difficulties in their lives. They become aware about the proverbs like nothing ventured, nothing gains, so they develop their risk-taking attitude via education. Socialization of a child. Education trains the mind of the child and teaches him how to inculcate values in his life. It makes the child understand what is society, how he is a part of society, what are his roles in society, how he should behave, how he should interact with others, etc. Education helps him to understand who is he and it develops a sense of a social being in him. In short, education socializes a child. Thus, education produces productive citizens. It helps everyone how to flourish and makes them ideal citizens of society. To sum up, education influences the society. Education as a means of human resource development. Human resource development aims at improving the human potential in public and private institutions or organizations through various activities related to training and development. Human resources are the greatest assets for these institutions or organizations, and effective utilization of these resources is the key to their success in their area of operation. Developing human resources in today's complex institutional or organizational environments requires professionals with special skills and knowledge in the area of training and development. The human resource development field has experienced phenomenal growth in recent years. Many adults are growing through training to update their knowledge and skills related to their jobs in corporate, industrial, and governmental training environments. At the same time, the field has undergone essential changes. Traditional training activities for employees, for professionals, mainly included skill-based seminars offered by content area experts in the respective fields. And the role of human resources personnel was to arrange those seminars. Education has been an important part in society and it has a great significance to us. It opens new horizon of development. It broadens ideas and outlooks. It develops efficiency of human resources and brings economic growth and development. It helps government for better administration as a tremendous influence on the civilization which helps in a country's development. Today, high-performance organizations hire human resource education specialists who fulfill a role beyond the traditional one. These specialists assume roles in maximizing human capital and effectiveness in their institutions or organizations through short and long-term planning of strategic human resource education activities. They identify training needs, develop training programs, implementing training activities, assess training and performance, and carry out follow-up. The training activities are considered to be an essential part of institutions or organizations for their development. In this sense, the individuals who are prepared to take roles in human resource education functions of institutions or organizations face a great challenge in improving themselves in line with up-to-date knowledge, perspective and skills in the areas of HRD, human resource development. Human resource is an essential production factor. In fact, the most important factor, because without human resource, other factors of production will not be used at all. Human resource is the primary engine of the economy, which needs to be polished through the means of education. Human resources may improve the local economy of a country. The education plays a very significant role in identifying their potential and provides appropriate training so that these potentials are utilized to the maximum. We will conclude with that different meanings and definitions of education as given above lead us to the conclusion that education may be defined as a purposive, conscious or unconscious psychological, sociological, scientific and philosophical process which brings about the development of the individual to the fullest extent and also the maximum development of society in such a way that both enjoy maximum happiness and prosperity. In short, education is the development of individual according to his needs and demands of society, of which he is an integral part. Education may be regarded as a science since it consists of theoretical as well as practical knowledge and skills derived through various scientific methods and aims at achieving desired objectives by applying them in human behavior and practices. This is a sort of necessary training of the younger generation so as to equip them for the further life and enable them make adjustments with the natural and social environment. With this, we conclude. I hope you have enjoyed and understood. Goodbye.